Yo, hey guys, this is our first podcast.
Yeah, so technically this is just a test podcast to just get things started before we start working on large-scale stuff.
For longtime viewers of our channels, you've probably seen Angry Birds Tales. ABT is a series of Angry Birds videos we made, and it has a lot of lore.
And we have quite a bit to unpack here, but just a small bit of the lore is in this video. When we made this podcast, we had Season 1 completed and the first part of Season 2. So this is the first map of the Angry Birds Tales universe, and I'm sure it looks like just a bunch of black scribbles or whatever, but listen, this is what we had to work with, okay? So this is Bird Island in the middle, and then if you go up a bit, you see Piggy Island. Actually, if this was actually to scale, Piggy Island would not be an island. That's a freaking continent right there.
Yeah.
And then you see there's Eagle Island, which according to whatever the perspective is, it's north of both islands. That's why it's really cold up there.
Yeah, so for our lore plan, when we made this map, so when I sketched out this map like 2 years ago, I made it horizontal instead of whatever direction it was supposed to be.
Well, yeah.
So now it's just north to now it looks like it's going north to south, but secretly it's actually going from west to east, up and down is. So
yeah, that's just how it worked back then. So
we're just gonna say for this sake of it that whoever made this map was trying to put whichever continent on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a whole Eastern Hemisphere to talk about, but maybe that's reserved for a later time. I know you might be really mad right now. You want to explain the lore a bit right now, but trust me, we're going to do a lot more stuff in the future. Alright, so and then the third map, it looks like Bluebird Productions made this one, and it has colors now.
Yeah, so this is the first ever colored map that we put together. It has all of the continents with names except for one. We'll get into that one very soon. But yeah, this is the first ever colored one, and as you can see, we have the main three islands, Piggy Island, Bird Island, and Eagle Island together. And then the next one we had was actually made by Dan here, except it has no labels, but borders instead.
Yeah, and I also changed the colors a bit.
Yeah.
I also definitely added a lot more islands, and all these islands are just for, side purposes or anything. It just looks more official.
Yeah. And then the next one was also made by Dan. Technically, it's the exact same map, but he later edited it and added a bunch of mountain ranges, rivers, roads, and labels, names, and cities, and even a compass rose. And, yeah.
I feel like the scale is really off here, but listen, okay, I was pretty stupid back then. I didn't know that this map would not represent scales correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next one, this had a fully fledged topology. It represents the wind currents and the ocean currents. It depends on how cold they are and how hot they are. I just designed them from the actual Earth wind currents and ocean currents.
We can definitely see that they do get quite a bit of hurricanes up there in the north, because you can see right there on one of the lands of Eagle Island that the warm air and the cold air do touch each other quite a bit. So they do get a bunch of tropical weather and that stuff.
Yeah.
And up in the north, you can obviously see there that it's cold. Like we said at the beginning, when I drew this, I drew it upwards instead of the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. So yeah, that's why it's like that.
Yeah.
And then the next one is actually the topography map, but without the ocean currents. So also, yeah, it actually looks really nice, and Dan added also a few more islands and a bunch of more detail to the islands and what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and I intentionally put up a Morse code signature, but I feel like it's really obscure that it's gonna take a while for y'all to actually find this.
Yeah.
And then for the last one, this is Eagle Island, and this other big island that's to the east of it, and there's another one, and there's a smaller one to the west of it.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of colors on it. This was because I represented all the biomes, like all the biomes on these islands. So Eagle Island has mostly tundra, which is because it's really cold up there. I know.
Yes.
And to I guess the southern bit is really warm. It's not exactly a desert, but it's still warmer than it is in the northern half.
Anyway, speaking of Eagle Island, we're also going to lead on to the currency of these first 3 islands. So we're going to start off with Eagle Island. Take it away, Dan.
All right, so yeah, the eagles have existed on the islands for a long time. They use the gems as currency, and they started 500 BCE. We actually do have a time system. It's just based on the current like BCE and CE time periods. And the reason, and then after that, the reason the Eagle Empire fell, which yes, there was an Eagle Empire and all that stuff. We did make a lot of lore, so just ignore that, and because we're gonna explain that in the next lore video, which is just podcast 2. And the reason that it fell was because the money they were using was hard to process, making its colonies break away to transition into paper bills. For Eagle Island, they would use their own paper money since 1525 CE, when they were independent with North Eagle, which is also just the island that was west of it. It is called North. If you're gonna ask why it's called North, it's because the pigs did that. Don't ask. And Eagle Island's new paper bills, they were called Achillean dollars. They made it around the world, with 2 more islands that were formerly Eagle Empire colonies, adopting it within 20 years of its introduction. And then there's going to be a lot more countries that are going to use that same Achillean dollar. We're going to use it a lot, actually. And then they adopted their own currencies.
Yeah.
Right, and then you do it, Blooper Productions, for the Bird Island currency?
Yeah, okay. So, Bird Island currency is the Bird Gold Coin currency, but of course, their economy is very awful. Their president is not exactly the nicest person. Their president is Judge Peckinpah from the movie, and he is not doing a very good job running this country. Its economy is crap, and so basically, Bird Island's in a little bit of a depression here with their money system.
I mean, yeah, it's just kind of the inflation right now in Bird Island. It's kind of similar to that of the modern day world that we live in.
Yes.
Alright, and then the last thing we have to talk about here is the pig dollar. The pig dollar is actually just invented in 1353 AD. They actually transitioned from granite stones to paper bills back then.
Yeah.
And this is just a very stable system because the Piggy Island government is actually very good at controlling the currency this time. Actually, if you think about it, if we see like King Pig or King Smooth Cheeks today, we see that he's not really that intelligent. We don't see him in the movie. We don't see him in Ingber's tunes to be like the great leader or anything. But actually, it's just that the government that Smooth Cheeks controls is actually really strong. They're actually able to keep the currency afloat instead of Bird Island, which crashed. And the reason for that is just because they used paper instead of actual gold, which made it really easy to just print money. And yeah, that's basically just pig currency.
Yeah, and Piggy Island is also the most modernly advanced country in the world in this universe. So that's why they're so rich. They were so modernly advanced. They had a bunch of resources, and also the inventing of a paper dollar back in the day also really helped them transport and trade things from place to place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's it. That's all of our currencies, monies, and countries that we're going to talk about today for our what we say pilot podcast.
Well, yeah, this is the first podcast. This is supposed to be a test, as I said earlier.
Anyways, so I'm Bluebird Productions, and this is my bud here.
And I'm Danan. Alright.
Yeah. And thanks for listening to our very first podcast test. And we'll see you guys next time.
Lore.